Okay, so we are rounding out a bit with our numbers here, and it's 2 minutes after the hour. So I figure we go ahead and just officially kick off our webinar. Everyone that's here with us, thank you for making the time. We're so excited to talk to you about an important topic and truthfully, something that is rapidly evolving in our space. And yet at the same time, so many of the basic fundamental principles of SEO aren't going anywhere. So really excited to bring in an expert on the topic, which is Lauren, and we'll both do some introductions here in a second. But she is absolutely one of the best people to talk about this. She runs a very successful marketing company, and you'll learn more about out and about communications as well. But I knew that she would be a great person to bring in sort of as a guest speaker to talk about the topic. I'll chime in where I'd like, where I see fit, but you're going to hear a lot from Lauren today. So if you have questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat box. There's also a Q&A box, whichever one is easier for you. We will have a live Q&A at the end of the session, but I'll also try to cherry pick things here and there. So if you're hot pressed on a question that you need asked quickly, just drop it in the chat and I'll do my best to stop Lauren and see if she can answer the question or if I can answer it myself. So let's kick this off. Lauren, thank you first and foremost for coming and for sharing all your knowledge with us today.
Oh my goodness, thanks for having me here. It's a interesting topic, like you said, especially with AI and a lot of the things that are going on, which I know we're going to get into. So
Yep, absolutely. AI is changing the game in so many different ways. So, and actually, before we hopped on this webinar, I did a little AI searching myself on what is happening to SEO. And so it's interesting what I got back from that. And I'll definitely share that here in a moment. But I say it looks like all of our numbers have evened out. So if we want to shift right away into maybe learning a little bit more about you, and then I'll just do a quick intro to myself because I see a lot of familiar names on here. And so I don't want to just
love it.
introduce myself over and over again. But if you don't know me, my name is Diana Cabrices. I'm the chief evangelist at Wealth Tender. We were the first SEC compliant testimonial marketing platform. And we're really big on SEO because we've got great domain authority. We sort of tell advisors, sign up for Wealth Tender and almost create or sort of ride this wave of SEO that we're creating on our end, get the testimonials in place. A lot of what we do is focused on SEO. I've worked with advisors on their marketing strategies for quite a few years now. I've worked with some of the biggest firms in the space, some of the largest, most well-respected RIAs, broker-dealers, IMOs. And so I've had my fair share of exposure to advisor marketing. And I think SEO isn't going anywhere. It's changing, but it's not going anywhere. So excited to be here with all of you. And Lauren, if you could maybe tell us a little bit about you and out and about communications, that'd be great.
Yeah, so again, thank you for having me. So my name is Lauren Hong. I'm the president and founder of Out and About Communications. For those of you that are not familiar, we are a full service agency. We exclusively work in the financial services space, and right now about 75% of our active clients are wealth management firms. So we train, hire all around this industry, and we're familiar with not only like the compliance jargon, but just the slower sales cycles and different tactics that we want to deploy to be able to reach our ideal target. So I'm excited to get into this. SEO is a component of what we do. We also do website redesigns, a lot of copywriting. And so the lens that I'm going to bring is more of, I'll call it kind of more the CMO lens, so that umbrella. And hopefully I'm going to have an opportunity for you all to be able to walk away so that you've got kind of that broader lens to help you be able to better speak to SEO specialists when you're getting in the weeds with the technicality, because it gets really technical really fast. So
It
um,
absolutely does. I love that
yeah.
that's one of our goals. And you know what? Let's hear from our audience, right? So why are you here? You probably saw, and I'm going to launch an actual poll here, but you probably saw in the marketing of this webinar, that we're going to talk about SEO, SEO 101. SEO is not dead. It's evolving. You got to evolve with it. So just basics. Are you here for just that SEO basics? Do you want to learn what's working for advisors? And like Lauren mentioned, do you want to, have more wherewithal when you're talking to SEO service providers? It can be difficult to contract with a provider where you can't really speak their language, or maybe you're just here to learn and that's it. I'll end this in maybe about 10 seconds. A few of you are still answering. Thanks for participating. I know we can't see you, but it's always nice to be able to get your feedback real time on these webinars. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and end that and share back with everyone. And 61% of you are here to learn what works for advisors. And I'm happy to see that because you're definitely in the right place for that. Lauren and her firm have worked with several advisors with Wealth Tender. We've worked with a lot of advisors as well. So we'll definitely tune into what we see working for advisors.
All right, so let's go ahead and jump right in. Before we get into the thick of it, we kind of want to talk about the elephant in the room. We had alluded to it earlier about AI, and um, SEO is changing. It's changing a lot. We're going to talk about what this new AI space means. But Dan, do you want to share a little bit more from what you guys are seeing at Wealth Tender with AI, SEO, and what have you?
Absolutely. So, traditionally, when you think about SEO, people have always thought, all right, SERPs, right? I want to rank high on search engine. That is an acronym for that. So I want to have a high ranking on Google so that when someone searches for information, my blog post pops up quickly, or in my website, my about page, whatever is mentioned there that's relevant to their search is going to pop up high on the list. They're going to click it. What's happening now is that Google has introduced a lot of new features, and I know we've got a slide on this, but Google, instead of having just different website links pop up when you search for something, that now they have an entire section about an AI summary. And so now they've sort of embedded AI into their search engine. And what that summary does is it essentially pulls the information the person was looking for so that they don't actually have to go click on that website and get that information and read that blog post or 4 blog posts, 5 blog posts, right? They don't have to go through the full research. Doesn't mean they won't, but they don't have to because the AI summary is there populating all that information. But what we don't want to forget is, well, why is AI pulling that information in? Well, because you have strong backlinks, or there's high traffic or higher click through rates on these links, right? Or again, you in general just have good SEO. And so now the AI summary is pulling in your information, but it's also going to link your information. So I encourage you to do a search on Google. You've probably done one today. I mean, we all do, and you've probably already seen this. This isn't news to many of you, maybe a few, but you should do a search on Google. You'll see the AI summary, and then you'll also see the link. So it does link over to where it's finding this information. So it just because Google has sort of changed the way it presents information, and it's kind of shifting from being a questions engine to more of an answers engine, it doesn't mean it's still not important to focus on SEO, because what's actually driving that information, those overviews, is based on good SEO principles, backlinks, good quality traffic, conversion links. So I just want to kind of throw that out there, that the way we get information is absolutely changing, of course, but that what's creating this new pathway of information is still based on good SEO. Anything
Awesome.
to add, Lauren?
Yeah, we're going to get into it even more and be able to break it down, but I think that's a really good summary of the changes. It's actually a really exciting platform to be in. I think that if you're kind of a technical nerd in SEO, you'd go back and you're like, oh my gosh, the world's going to crumble. Like this whole AI thing is taking over, but it's not the case. It's actually a really exciting platform to be in. I'm going to get into why that matters and why that matters specifically for advisors and how that can impact how you can utilize SEO to continue to be a channel to be able to pull in prospects. So we can get into that a little bit here too. So
Yeah. One other thing I want to just quickly ask, I know we have a lot of content today to cover, is that if you actually go into like a chat GPT and you Google someone's name, like an advisor, or you type in, you know, Bob Smith a good advisor, you will see that what populates out of that is maybe Bob Smith has a page on Wealth Tender, or Bob Smith was featured on Advisorpedia, or any of these other advisor facing or advisor focused websites. ChatGPT is actually still pulling in those links directly into that search. So while the search has become more conversational, the information, the data, the links are still being presented. So that's the last thing I'd add there, Lauren. I think I say we can move on here.
yeah, let's get into it. We've got a lot, like you said, a lot to cover. So I want to go back to this traditional definition of SEO, which is SEO stands for search engine optimization, which kind of in the old days, it was like you stuff in all these keywords into a Google website. You are into a website and you want Google to say, hey, I'm over here and I'm ranking really high. A lot's changed. I'm going to get into some of the why, but if you look at SEO and where it is today, I've heard this new kind of like termed coin, which is it's not search engine optimization, but search everywhere optimization. Search isn't just happening in Google right now, it's happening in YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and all of these places. And so it's changing the way that we're searching ChatGPT. And so we're going to talk about what that means for you. So just to give a little bit of a flashback here, the internet for the old days, but this isn't really that old, right? If you really think about it. A lot of this just is kind of an example of how quickly the internet changes. And the internet that was a year ago from today is is very different than where we are today. It's going to look different. There's new algorithms that are rolling out, there's new products and services. And so all these things, it changes. So it's important for us to be able to stay on top of it. So if you look at kind of back then, search results might be, okay, you type in something, you get what you want. But now what it is Google's also, they're stuffing a lot of information. They are really dependent on Wall Street. They want to make sure that they're making money. Google makes a lot of money by paid ads. So you're going to start to see a lot of sponsored results. You've seen that for a long time. This AI feature has rolled out. That's pretty new within the last year. In fact, there's been rollout and then rollback of that. You
Yep.
probably remember all the news articles about like people were searching things and it was, you can put glue on pizza and horrible things like you can jump off the Golden Gate Bridge. These are major liabilities.
Yeah.
So it rolled back and it's rolled back, and then it's rolled out again. And you've also seen the stock market change, right? When it rolled back, the stocks dropped. When it rolled back in, the stocks went up. And so this AI component is really important because it's also helping us as users be able to help to better find our search and how things work. So we're going to talk about what that means in a little bit more. So let me get into this though, because I'm talking about all these things and SEO can sometimes feel mysterious. It's like, okay, so is SEO this, like, it feels like a black box sometimes. But what I'm hoping to do from this webinar is to break it down so it doesn't really feel mysterious, but it actually feels like, okay, like I get this and I can actually really be able to help a prospective client and utilize SEO as a tool to be able to do that. And feel
Love a
free to
Scooby-Doo
jump in.
reference. Yes.
Yes, I know. We've got a few Scooby-Doo and mystery references in here because it's
That's
just fun.
great.
All right, so our agenda for today is where do I start with SEO? Second is what's next. So, okay, so how do I actually implement it if I want to move forward? And then we're going to have a little bit of time at the end for Q&A. All right, so where do I start with SEO? So this is typically what I hear. I'm on a conversation with an advisor, and they're like, I'm doing all these things that are related to marketing, which also connects to SEO. I'm doing things like social media. I've got, really great cadence. We're posting 3 times on LinkedIn. I'm also doing reviews. I'm okay with the new SEC rule, and we're really leaning into getting more reviews. If it's on Well Tender, if it's on, Google reviews, wherever it's at. We're doing blogs and we're really proud that our team is writing blogs. They're actually doing a blog once a month and we just updated our website. We're trying to keep that updated and we know there's more things we need to do, but these are going on. Oh, and I'm doing videos, events, and we have an ebook that is kind of like 60% done, but we really want to get that out. Yeah, I'm doing prospecting and I'm managing clients and I'm helping with operations and I'm doing all these things too. So on my side, I'm kind of like, okay, tell me more. Like, we're doing a lot of activity, but like, why are we doing this activity and what is it amounting to? What I'm often finding is that there's a lot of firms that are frustrated. There's a lot of activity that's going on, but it's not really adding up into something bigger. It's not hitting specific KPIs. It's not bringing in the clients. It's taking their team's time. It's taking effort and energy. Is it the algorithm? Is it our team? We're doing all these activities, but it's kind of that hamster in a wheel cycle. But we know that there's some sort of benefit to it, right? We know that there's some sort of benefit to SEO, and how do we crack that code? We know that it can help us get high quality traffic, which means that we can have high quality leads. It's organic, which means that we're not technically paying for it, that people are finding us naturally enough way through search. It's helping us to build out our brand. You can see all these things that can help to increase revenue. It can really help us to build out our strategy. So how do we actually kind of quote unquote crack the code in order to be able to make a difference with SEO? I'm going to get into what we do next. Diana, anything you want to jump in and share?
Perfect. Nope.
All right, we'll keep moving and grooving. So what's next? All right, I'm sure there's a lot of folks that are on this webinar that are big fans of Kitsis. He has been drilling the target market for years, right? Kristen Luke, she's got a niche book that came out. She's really big in this space as well with target marketing for firms. So target market is critical. It's an essential piece to understanding really who you're working with and how you build systems, marketing, messaging, brand all around this specific audience. And if I were to say a secret sauce for SEO, it's really understanding your target market. You've got to be able to take a walk in their shoes. Because if you're just going and you're creating a bunch of stuff like that example that I gave of the firm that's just creating, you may not be creating for what that target market actually needs. So I'm going to give you an example of a specific target market for a firm and kind of how that might apply. All
And we
right.
might have some advisors that have this exact target market.
There's possible. I know. I was talking with one the other day that actually did, which prompted me to input this. So, and I've seen different cuts of this.
Yep.
So here's a target. And this is very loose kind of target market. And tech executives with executive compensation. So let's call this guy Jim. Jim has these things that are top of mind that might be important to him. And you know these things because you've had conversations. RSUs, NSOs, cares about tax planning. They want to meet with you via Zoom. They don't care if you're in San Francisco or if you are in New York or you're in, Indiana. They want someone that really probably in their mid 30s, 40s. They've got a family, a million and one things going on. They don't want paper. They just want a frictionless process and somebody who understands them that they can trust that's related to a complicated executive compensation package. So you go, okay, this might be my ideal target market, right? Well, if I look at Jim's situation, what's unique about SEO today and how it's changed is really this buyer journey. So, what used to happen for Jim is Jim might go, okay, I need an advisor, and I need an advisor that's going to help me with fill in the blank RSUs. So, what he would do is type that into Google before, and it would actually go directly to the research. So, it'd pull up a ton of articles, and you go, okay, I'm going to click through, I'm going to read this, I'm going to click through, and I'm going to read this, I'm going to click through and read this to be able to try to understand kind of who knows what about RSUs. Where the game has changed is now there's an AI overview. This AI overview is a summary of multiple articles that's now in paragraph form that's going to help Jim to learn more. So Jim now types into Google something like this, restricted stock options. It's going to get this AI overview. And Jim might go, okay, let me learn a little bit more about this. I know this is related to my executive compensation, my overall benefits. Let me understand a little bit more about what this is. Starts to do a little bit more of a deeper dive. Then Jim might go, okay, now I live in California and I'm realizing that there's some restrictions here. Let me type in a deeper search because the AI overview kind of helped me to just zero in on what's actually kind of important to me. So it's really helping to find, like for Jim to do a very high level search and then start to go a little bit deeper. When he types in that search, restricted stock options, or RSUs restrictions California, right away I see a wealth management firm that comes up. So you're probably going to click on there, read a little bit more. It just so happens this firm actually specifically targets this audience. I didn't even know this when I was pulling this up. So this is like a great example of SEO in the research phase. And then Jim might go, okay, I want to get a little bit more specific. I need something that's actually going to like, where's the proof in the pudding? Where's the social proof? So you might look for something like, okay, RSUs are really important for me. I want someone to really understand my situation so I can break this down. RSU's California best wealth management firm. Let me go read a bunch of these pages. Who gets me? I'm going to reach out. So this is a pattern, a buyer pattern in the journey if they're trying to find a firm. So your job as someone that might be in the seat of owning a firm or being able to try to really attract that right client is knowing your user. Take a walk in their shoes. And so you might be going like, Lauren, how the heck do I know my target? I talk with them, I've got a feel, but I don't want to be like that GIF where there's just someone like hitting their head against the computer because I've been there and I don't want to do that again. So this is how you do it. We've got Jim. We know a lot about him, and all those things that you are hearing are really, really important. We want to take all of that, but then we want to take that input and we want to dump it into a bunch of tools. So let me blow that up a little bit more. So here's just some examples of tools that SEO specialists are going to dump all that information in about Jim. They're going to look at tools like Google Search Console, SEMrush, so on and so forth. So you can see here's a tool. You guys can get access to this deck later. Here's a specific location, the cost, and really a definition of what this tool does. Now, where the value of an SEO specialist comes in is they can take all those inputs from Jim and they can start to understand where are the gaps in the market. What is Jim actually searching for in the buyer journey when they're just trying to find an advisor? Or they're actually trying to find an advisor to learn or to buy. And it's going to help to give us clues for what we should actually be writing about. So that's really where the beauty of SEO comes in, is it helps us to really zero in our efforts so that we're not just in the spinning wheel, we can actually put our efforts against a game plan. So the hard thing, though, and your responsibility as just a business owner, or if you're an advisor, is knowing your target and who you want to target. Because if we dump into Google things like fee only, fiduciary, comprehensive, the general terms, I want to be known as the best financial planner, in my area. It's good to have those general terms, but everybody's going after those general terms. So we've got to really be able to dig deeper in that research phase when Jim is going to actually go to try to solve this problem.
I love this. I love all of these tools. And you
There are a
mentioned,
lot.
just to reiterate, so we will make sure everyone here gets a copy of the recording of this webinar and of the slide deck. So if you're here with us, if you've signed up, you will absolutely get that.
And feel free to drop those comments questions, whatever you have in the chat as well. We can jump in and answer them as we're going forward. Because I know there's some technical jargon in here. So
Yep.
don't feel free to just stop me. We're going to get a little bit deeper into the technical side in a minute. So all of those tools, let me just kind of pop back that we have, are going to help us, Scooby-Doo again, to solve the mystery a little bit more. They're going to help us to go okay, what is Jim actually searching for? Not just my gut for what I think he knows or what I might be passionate about, like the technicality of some of these specific financial terms or the nuances of it, but what does he actually care about? And we might learn that, yeah, he cares about RSUs or he cares about some of these things, but he also might really care about, I want to send my kids to maybe private school. Do I have enough money to do that? Or I want to leave my business or I want to leave my employer and how are my benefits going to be impacted? Or how do I optimize my taxes? Or I've got aging parents and can I care for them? So there might be other things that are going on. And that search is going to help us to be able to really draw a map. And the map is going to give us a checklist of what's actually important and where do we spend our time and energy. So it's going to spit out basically a game plan that we can action to be able to help someone like Jim find us more. So there's typically kind of two pieces that you're going to get from a game plan, an SEO game plan. Once you've really inputted the target market, you've done the research, you've zeroed down on your kind of your white space opportunities in the market. It's going to be twofold. There's going to be changes you can make on your website, which the technical term is on-site SEO. And there's going to be changes you can make off-site, which is basically not your website, it's other website pages, right? To be able to enhance and to be able to help someone like a Jim find you. So I'm going to get into all of those, and this is where it gets a little technical. So you've got over here different kinds of deliverables, and I'm going to go through each one of these. You have the location, if it's on site on your website, or if it's off your website elsewhere. And then a definition for what all of these kinds of things mean. Now, the deliverable is just a deliverable. It's got to be specific, though, to what Jim needs, what your target market needs, and where the white space is in the market. So that's why that research component is so helpful, so that we can really build a custom plan to be able to hit your specific objective. So you're not the computer frustrated, where you might be trying to make sure that your efforts really get the most juice for your squeeze. All right, so Diana, feel free to jump in if there's anything you want to add, or I'll keep moving and grooving if not. All right, so we're going to get into SEO keyword research, which is probably something you guys have heard about before. Uh, what happens is those tools, they give you probably more data than you would ever want. Like so much so that you're probably going to be so cross-eyed that you don't even know where to start. Honestly, like I do this kind of stuff all the time and I even feel cross-eyed sometimes. So, an SEO specialist, and I'm not a technical SEO specialist. Like I said when we started, I'm more of kind of that global kind of CMO. How do we direct the effort? Roles and responsibilities. So where an SEO specialist is going to come in is they're going to be able to surf through the jargon, what's important to you, and help us find the white space in the market. So we might have something like a theme, which is like a specific topic. It could be around like RSUs, NSOs, I don't know, comp benefit, something like that. A keyword. So this is actually like something that someone would be typing into a Google. The search volume, how many people are actually searching that on a monthly basis, annual basis, what have you. SEO difficulty, how difficult is it actually to rank against that keyword. Search intent, which is basically where are they in the buyer's journey. So these topics are going to help us to identify what we'd want to write about, maybe create a webinar about, topics to speak on. It might be chapters for a book or for an article. It could be maybe a YouTube video or a variety of things that might actually help us identify where we want to put our efforts. So that keyword research is really important because it helps us to kind of give a North Star for what people actually care about. So if there's any questions, feel free to jump in too.
We actually did get one. So Bridget asked, I'm curious to know the best practices for obtaining high quality backlinks and more about offsite SEO.
Oh, okay. We're going to get into backlinks in just a minute. So I think we can save that. So high quality backlinks. And then what was the second part of it again?
Learning more about offsite SEO.
Okay. Which actually the two are very much interrelated. Let me give like a high level summary and then we'll get into it in a minute. So let's say Jim is your target market and he's in the tech space, right? As an advisor, you might be on a board for a tech company. You might be a part of writing in a magazine that's specific to that demographic. There could be things where you show up, your voice shows up, where that target market's going to show up. So let's say you write for a tech specific magazine. Well, high quality backlink would be one that's linking from there back to your website. If you're on a board, and you've got your bio on the board's website that links from there back to your website. It's exactly where your target market is spending time. It's not just showing up and I'm going to create a Yelp page and I'm going to create a this page, I'm going to create a that. It's actually adding value to your target market that's a legitimized, not to say that Yelp isn't, but it's a legitimized place where your target market would spend time. Reviews is another great one. Someone's going to search, they're going to look for credibility in what you're doing and being able to jump from there back. So we'll get into that a little bit more in a minute too. Diana, anything you want to add on that?
No, I have more to say on that as well a little bit later into the deck, but it's a lot of what Wealth Tender helps you create very quickly are those high quality backlinks. So we'll definitely get more into that.
Great. Keep the questions coming. Okay, so if you don't already have basic SEO tools installed, this is important. I'm always surprised sometimes when we pop open the back end of a website that Google Analytics isn't, installed properly, or it was installed, but then it's not been looked at for months, and so there's not data that's pulling in. There can be snags and things that happen. I mentioned earlier that search data is volatile, right? So there's certain search terms that might spike just because of things that are happening in the world. And so all of a sudden, a specific topic becomes really important, or you're writing on a topic and you want to see if it's actually driving traffic back to your website, or it might help you to get more intelligence about things that you could be adding or adding where you can add value. So these basic tools, once you get the game plan in place, these basic tools are going to help you gain intelligence that's specific to your specific situation. So this is a kind of, I would say, you don't want to compromise on getting these pieces installed. That's an easy win.
And Lauren, does your team help advisors get all of this installed?
Yeah, we do. It's kind of a must to get it installed. And you can do the research without this in place. So let's
Mhm.
say that you're a situation where you're like, oh my gosh, we have not installed Google Analytics, or maybe we're on Squarespace and it's got kind of the default analytics in there or something like that. You can still do the research without it, but as you move forward, this is really important. And if we're going to do the research without it, we might not be able to get into as depth based off of what you've historically done, which is it just is what it is. But yeah, we do help get this all in place.
Awesome.
Okay, so website basic audit, these are things you can do or just think about to have kind of in the back of your mind. So one of the things that the Google algorithm has done. And frankly, this is like any platform, like remember the kind of not just search engine optimization, search everywhere optimization. Algorithms are adjusting for us as humans. They want it to be as easy as possible. So that's why you're constantly seeing new rollouts of things and new tools that are being added. They want our experience to be seamless. And so we're of like this technology is evolving as we're learning to make it easier for us. So these kind of basic audit things, frankly, they just make it easier for us, which then in the Google algorithm, they're going to go, we're going to give you guys more points because you're making it easier for the end user. So these are really easy things that you can do that are going to make it easier for your end user, and they're going to make it easier just kind of across the board. So website speed, it's kind of a no-brainer. Like it's really frustrating if a website is not moving quickly. So you can test your website and there's different website speed checkers. There's a link there to one. Another one is just broken links, dead links, right? Like it's frustrating if you click on a link and then you're like, okay, this is going nowhere, right? So it legitimizes a page if it's updated regularly. Duplicate content. If you are using canned content, if you maybe duplicated multiple pages by accident or intentional, if you happen to cut and paste the same paragraph a bunch of different places, Google kind of cancels that out because everybody else is doing it, so it doesn't seem as relevant. So you want to check for duplicate content. Another easy thing is to flatten the website architecture. So it's frustrating, right? If you're like, okay, this is my homepage here. Okay, now I'm going to click through here and I'm going to click to here. It becomes like the elephant graveyard of websites. Like you can't find what you need and you just have to keep going down, 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 down. What you want to look for is really a flat architecture and less is more. I know it's hard to do, but if you have your homepage and you have like maybe five, max seven, if even, I mean, less is more up here. And then you can start to go deep, right? So you really help to organize it in a way that's easier for the user. And then the last piece, and this is kind of a little bit technical, but what you want to do, so how the traditional algorithm works is that it's looking for structured data. So it's looking for things like an example of structured data would be if I something that's very easy for Google, if I said, okay, when is Christmas going to be and or let's not do Christmas, let's use Hanukkah. Hanukkah changes all the time, right? The date changes. I said, when is Hanukkah going to be in 2030? It's going to go, okay, there's a pattern I can follow and I can find all that information. And it's very easy to spit something like that out. So on your website, if you're giving it more structured data, let's say on a web page where you're going, oh, I'm going to put a description for my image. I'm going to add a logo so Google can scrape it and it can know what I'm looking for. I'm going to add key tags or I'm going to add links. I'm going to put in information that makes it really easy to be able to read so that it can crawl it easily. That's basically it's markup so that Google can follow it quickly. Where the game has changed though is with AI because it's taking all of these these not random, but they're all these different pieces and it's pulling it together in that paragraph format. It's still using the structured data, but it's again kind of more in that research phase when people are looking for it.
And that goes back to what I was saying in the beginning of the webinar, Lauren. Like AI is pulling data based on a lot of what you're seeing here. So
That's right.
I don't think you're going to get a lot of AI links or links in AI overviews with websites that won't load or that have a bunch of broken links. And so it has that intelligence built in. So again, although AI is evolved the SEO game. It's the principles are still there. I think a lot of advisors too maybe don't recognize like you're just number one here, your website speed. If it takes a while to load, Google has preferences for websites. And if your website isn't passing the tests on one or, a few of these different items here, then it's probably not going to want to prioritize your website, whether that's in the search results or whether that's in the AI overview now. So super important to make sure that your website provider you're working with is helping you with all of these things. And if they're not, maybe you need to look at a different website provider, or maybe layer on to whoever your original developer was, working with other providers to help you with all of this.
Yeah, it's right. And another thing that Google's had a really hard time kind of ever since the beginning to figure out is like truth and knowledge and how do we source information. So that research component for us as humans, right, is us digging down to do our due diligence. So you're going to start to see there's a little bit more citing going, back to resources and things of that sort. But that's where that research component is really important, which is sort of an interesting challenge that Google has, I think, as we move forward, and frankly, any search platform. So
We got one question here from Brandy. She says, "What is an appropriate website speed?"
oh my goodness, you really want it to load within a few seconds.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're going to lose people right away. Like usually you've got like 30 seconds or less. So that's why, you to capture their information. So you really want your site to load in a few seconds. So if you're stuffing your website with like videos and big images, these are all things that are going to slow down your site. Any other questions?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to keep us moving. I want to be mindful of time. Oh, yeah.
Perfect. Let's do it. Nope. Continue on.
Okay. So I had mentioned kind of dumping all that information right into all those tools to be able to help us get the data for what people actually care about. One of the benefits of that is it's going to help us to spin out a content plan, which is going to be, it could be written, like it could actually be topics that you might choose to write about. It also could be like a downloadable that you create, or maybe it's an internal tool that you're utilizing to help train your team. It could be a variety of things, but that content plan helps to make sure that we're not just like that hamster in a wheel, but we're actually mapping our efforts up against a bigger picture goal to help Jim find us. So it's really gonna give us kind of that, again, like connecting the dots for what does Jim care about? Okay, so he cares about RSUs. So now let's take him to this, dig a little bit deeper on NSUs. Then we're going to dig a little bit deeper on, I don't know, it might be like the pitfalls of executive compensation, packages when you're negotiating them or something like that. So it can really help us to connect the dots. So if Jim lands on our page about a specific topic, we can also go a little bit deeper with him and create a backlink or create a link on that. We can, help him to say like, hey, we're an authority in this space. We actually know a lot about this and we can help you and we want to help you. Diana, anything?
Nope.
All
Continue
right.
on.
Okay, so I talked a little bit on the last slide about kind of internal links, about how we can take Jim onto our landing page, keep him in our website. Um, Internal links are really important because one of the things that Google does look for in the algorithm to kind of crack the code, if you will, is time on site. So if you're adding value, people are going to stay longer. They're going to want to learn more. They're going to want to dig deeper. Another piece is testimonials, right? Or kind of if you offsite links that are going to say, oh yeah, like, they wrote an article about that. Okay, so I wanted like kind of the examples we were giving earlier. I want to learn a little bit more. Oh, they've got all their testimonials happen to talk about executives. Like I've executives that have complex complex benefit plans. So this might be when you start to notice patterns and you start to be able to go deep, all these sorts of things they add up, not only to the user, but Google knows that they're adding up as well.
Yeah, I think a good rule of thumb is every time you put out content on your website, like think about what other resources you've already put out from your website you can shout out or link back to. It's just good for reading experience as well. Like if you're telling me to do all these things in a blog post, you probably want to go deeper with people and you probably have resources that already do. So I think it's just like good thing to keep top of mind, or whoever's doing it for you. However, we know there's a lot of advisors out there that are writing a lot of their own content. So if you are one of those advisors and you really want to continue to write your blogs, it might be a good outlet for you. It might be the one form of marketing you actually enjoy doing. Just make sure to keep this top of mind.
Yeah, make sure to link back to other articles you've written. And just you want to add value, right? You want to make it really easy for someone because it's really fun if you're on a site that you really enjoy and you can click around and dig deeper and learn more. It keeps you coming back, right? I think Kids again is another great example of that. Like there's
Yeah.
just really high quality content and there's interlinking, if you're going to read an article, you also oftentimes will click out to like additional resources where you can learn more and things of that sort. So I just share that as an insight that a lot of folks are probably familiar with. So there's a magic to that interlinking. It's not just because it's SEO, but again, it benefits the user. So, all right, Diana, you want to take this one?
Yeah. So there we go. Okay. It took a second to load. So this next one is all about how offsite linking. So when you appear on other websites that link back to your own website, it helps you. It tells Google, it tells search engines that you're credible, that you're reputable, that other people are also saying things about you. It's not just you saying things about you. And man, that also perfectly ties in with getting testimonials. But I wanted to just quickly highlight here. I said earlier that when you sign up for Wealth Tender, it's one of those just easy, quick pathways to going ahead and getting some quality backlinks to your website. Google sees our website as an official review site number one. And I'm not going to focus on reviews first, but it does see us as an official review website. So we've built our credibility with Google. We have actually the best domain authority in all of the space when you think about other websites like Find a Financial Advisor or IndieFin, for example, or even there's one for like CFPs. We rank higher than them consistently. So we'll add your website into these different articles. For example, you can see on the screen here, we create these local guides. So we're getting kind of to more local keywords for you, but looking for a financial advisor in LA or Houston, or maybe you're looking for an advisor because you're a small business owner. So we're ranking quite high on Google. Regardless, we are appearing in AI overviews. We're even appearing in Chat GPT responses. And so what we're doing is automatically making sure you do have a backlink to your website. So it's a quick way to just ride the wave of our SEO that we've built to get those backlinks going. So in my opinion, it's not enough to just be an advisor and create a website and maybe do some social posting and that's your social presence. Because again, all the things that are happening, the shift that's happening here, you really have to double down on your digital footprint. An easy way to do that quickly is by getting yourself listed on a Find an Advisor directory. It's not just Wealth Tender. Obviously, I work with Wealth Tender, so I'm biased here. Wealth Tender is the best, but there are other sites too. And if I were an advisor, I would list myself on multiple directories because they're all going to be backlinking to your website. So that's going to help improve the search results that, if people are searching for an advisor based on location, specialization, designations, all of this is going to be mentioned in a good directory for you.
Yeah, that's just such good points. Just examples of other backlinks like the Fee Only Network, NAPFA, if you know the CFP. Like there's so many organizations. Maybe just if you're involved with your university or things of that sort. These are examples of, I'll call them, high quality backlinks. They're usually pages, Diana, as you were alluding to earlier. They have authority. Google sees them as relevant. They see them as a place that's credible. And so if you are on those pages and they are linking back, it's a good win-win. And then an even kind of tighter maybe win-win for your target market is kind of like that example I had given earlier. If you are in like maybe a magazine or a blog that's related specifically to your target market, then you marry the two with kind of the, I'll call it, more general, and then also the deeper specific to your target market. And it's the combination of those that really helps you to ride
Yep,
above the wave there. Yeah.
absolutely.
All right. We've got a few more. So UX, user experience design, another kind of jargony word, but basically in a nutshell, all this means that if you land on a website, that things are easy to find. They've got the sidebar where you can jump in between, you can jump to the different sections of the podcast. They've got everything, the audio all written up. They've got a summary. It's easy you want it to be easy to find things. Amazon is another great example. Amazon is like, makes it almost too easy to buy, right? So the design is really meant for humans and it's meant in a way to be able to add value, and to be able to make it really easy to navigate. That's why kind of that example of the flat architecture, it's easier to navigate for people. Why it makes sense to actually invest in website design because it makes it easier for someone to be able to navigate your website. So user experience is important, for readability, for keeping people on the site longer, for adding value. It's part of the end product, really.
Yeah, and I'll just add here, not everyone wants to consume content in the same way. So while having written text-based content like a blog post, we've got those keywords baked in there. That's all really important. But I might land on your blog, but I don't feel like reading 10 paragraphs. And instead, you have a quick summary. Maybe there's a graphic that you created. Like I'll have my designer create a graphic in Canva for almost every blog we post. I also put a video in every blog that I post because I might want to consume via video and that might be my preference. So there's, yes, you want people to stay on your site as long as possible. Maybe video is going to mean they're going to get to the information quicker, but you're also balancing that and weighing that out with having a good user experience and making sure the content is in as many forms as possible because everybody consumes content differently.
Yep. Awesome.
Getting some good questions. I know we're heading
I
towards,
know.
so
I was just saying that. I know we got to be mindful of time here too. So, all right. So let me, well, perfect timing because we're just about the end. So all of this is going to help us to solve the mystery, right? So it's going to make sure that we're on the right solve that mystery. And we started this with a poll. Like, what are you all looking for? The things that we've gone through are what works for firms, but the secret sauce to a lot of this is really finding the target market. So if you know your target market, you can input the data, you can put together a thoughtful game plan. It's really a win-win. It's not just a win-win for you as a firm, but it's also a win-win for your clients because they're having a better experience. I should say prospects and clients, right? And COIs. They're having a better experience. You're answering questions, you're adding value. And so as they're in that research phase, is that you ultimately want to be part of that decision-making kind of list. So with that, we've got actually right on time. We've got about 10 minutes left for some questions. So some Q&A time. Uh, but well, Diana, I'll let you open it up from there.
Yeah, absolutely. First, Lauren, thank you so much because you put so much time and effort into this beautiful deck, and you have so many good resources for everyone on the call. So it's not just information, but you've got links and different tools, and if they're free, and that's just it's incredibly helpful. So thank you first and foremost. We actually got some questions in advance of the webinar. Sometimes people will send them in on the registration page. We have a few really good ones here. I'm going to call them out based on what I think is going to be the most helpful to as many people as possible. The first thing is we actually didn't talk a whole lot about this, but how is social search like TikTok changing SEO? I'd love to hear from you on this, Lauren.
It's really a lot of it is people are just searching differently. So Google is still the number one search platform, followed by YouTube, which actually is owned by Google, oddly enough. Um, and people are trying to find, as you mentioned earlier, different ways to consume content. So if you were to look at kind of that like triangle that we have, that kind of upside down piece where AI is pulling it in, it's pulling in all this information from places like a TikTok, from a Google, from all this information. It's helping us to consume it so we can go deeper with part of our search. Um, I will also say that it could be people are using different channels to search for different things. They might look for podcasts just to learn a little bit more. They might use like Instagram to even follow news or things that are going on, TikTok for like quick recipes. So depending on the platform, it's going to help us to identify, if it's a platform, frankly, we should even use our time, like spend time on, or if it's a platform that is really going to just be sort of aware of it. That's part of the kind of greater search algorithm now versus just everything Google. So,
And, I think that we could answer this question differently depending on who the advisor is. Yes, like exactly what you said, right? The way people are searching on a TikTok or an Instagram, it is changing the game here because they're not going to Google and they're not typing that in. And we use that as a lot of our basis for our example today. But you also have to ask who is doing that? Who is searching for financial information on TikTok? Are they even an ideal client for me? And maybe in the next 10 years, not quite, maybe beyond that, things start to change. Does it mean I should put all of my eggs into the TikTok basket because Google's going bye bye? No, it doesn't. It really, really doesn't. But it does mean you should be mindful and aware that it's starting to happen more and more, and that there are these other social platforms that people are using to get information. There is a reason why some of these financial influencers who aren't even licensed are blowing up on TikTok and Instagram and all these other channels. By the way, they're also promoting testimonials. And again, they're not even licensed. So if you're not promoting testimonials, you've really got to step it up, because the customer's voice at the end of the day is what's going to get someone to want to make a decision. It's just social proof. It's psychology of great marketing. But I do think, yeah, pause and ask yourself, is this for me right now? Is this for me in 10 years? What steps or baby steps can I take now to maybe start shifting a bit of where I'm showing up online, but also being realistic and balancing that with who I'm targeting in my market and where they're playing at today, where they're searching.
Yeah, and I know this is a lot of information to do, and I would just say that to make it really simple, like the secret sauce is if you understand your target, you're going to have good input. The input into those tools I had mentioned earlier, which is going to give you good output, which is going to help you to understand where, like the game plan for where you should show up and what you should do. So it will help you to more easily eliminate specific channels like a TikTok or others that may or may not be the right fit for your specific target market. So.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I completely agree. We have a great question here. So, Ali asks, since investors can work with an advisor anywhere these days, to what extent should you be trying to boost yourself locally versus being nationally well known?
I think it depends on your target market. I see like that executive, that kind of gym example, that they care less about like in that specific example where you are. So geographically. So if you're going to spend time and energy, it might be less about geography and it might be more about specific topics that are the pain point to that audience. But if you have a real local bend, you want to identify the kind of the pain point for that target and lean into that. And so it might be more worthwhile to spend some efforts around kind of really getting involved locally. And that might also impact where you spend your time and energy. So I think it kind of just, again, it goes back to your target market. But
It does. And I will just give another shameless plug to Wealth Tender here, because when you sign up for Wealth Tender, you not only get that immediate inclusion in local guides with those keywords and the SEO benefit, but we're also connecting you with reporters and journalists every day who raise their hand and say, hey, do you have an advisor in your Wealth Tender community that can talk to me about executive, tech executive compensation or stock options or really anything? We get literally everything from reporters, and these are turning into meaningful articles online from nationally recognized publications. Some of them are only local, but we've had really good success. Our advisors think it's probably one of the most valuable parts of being part of Wealth Tender, and we don't even talk about it that much. So there are ways that you can do both, that you can boost yourself locally and nationally. And I'd argue would be a good idea to have some presence in both. Although, again, like Lauren said, depending on that target market, maybe figuring out priority there. So that was an excellent question. Thank you for asking it. We have another one here. Lauren, what is considered a low bounce rate for an advisor website?
I'd say about 2 minutes. If you can keep somebody kind of on there, I'll say that's more of the average. So if it's kind of less than that, then it's kind of lower. But ideally you want somebody to be on the site a little bit longer than that. Ideally like longer would be like 8, 10, 12 plus minutes to really kind of learn about you. I mentioned earlier that sometimes you've got like a 30-second window. Somebody's like, who are you? I'm gonna bounce. Which is why if you're gonna spend like any kind of time on your website. So your blog content might be a place they're coming in, which is where they're going to probably spend more time because they're in the research phase. But if they happen to find you from another kind of maybe referral or something like that, you're going to want to spend your time on what's called the above the fold, which is before someone starts to scroll and it's right on your homepage. So in our data and working with firms, what we see is there's really two main places that prospects go to. It's the homepage. They want to know, what are you doing? and like, who are you? Who do you serve? So that above the fold before someone starts to scroll is it's your oceanfront property where you're going to want to spend your energy to really say, this is who we are, this is who we serve. The second spot that we see people go to in all of our data is it's your bio pages. You're part of what makes the difference. They want to learn more about you. So if you put a little bit more, not just about all your credentials, but also if you've, maybe if you've got like a pet you love, or you love to go hiking or flying airplanes, or you've got family, like, and if you're comfortable sharing those, I would really encourage you to do that because this is such a human to human business. And so those are places where people are going to want to learn more. I will also put another caution is sometimes we see the bounce rate um be low because a lot of times clients are just coming to your website and they're going right to the client login. So
Yeah.
that is part of the algorithm, right? And so you will sometimes see a drop there too. So it's important to get into your Google Analytics to actually see the path, the user journey that people are spending beyond that client login.
Absolutely. And I love that you mentioned like getting personal that, for me, that's all about relatability and, creating that relatability in your marketing by getting on camera or taking a picture. Or I've seen advisors who put their dog on their website, like their
Yeah.
family. Fun facts on my website. I've got fun facts about me. So it's not all just straight business. When you create relatability in your marketing, you essentially allow someone to say, oh, like I can kind of peek into their lives a little bit more. And I really like what I'm seeing. And I can relate to that. Or maybe I want to be that, like that person. That's why all the YouTubers blew up, right? And I always say, like, the word YouTube has you in it. So definitely put more of yourself in it. That's a great way to increase, or lessen the bounce rate for your website. There's another question here. Maybe it's our last one. Depends. If you have any more pressing ones, please go ahead and get it into the chat. By the way, I did put two links in the chat. The first one is how you can learn more about out and about communication. So Lauren's firm, they do so many different things for advisors to help you in your marketing in several ways. So I highly encourage you to check them out. And then if you want to learn more about Well Tender on the tech side, just go ahead and click that link there and you can learn a little bit more about what we do. There's an 8-minute demo video that I give on that page as well. So last question, how long does it take for SEO to work?
Oh goodness, that is such a tricky question. It depends where you enter in the game. I would say if you were gonna kind of do that initial input with Jim, get everything going, game plan, output, as short as 2 months, maybe a little bit shorter than that, depending on kind of, there might be quick things that you can change that are to make a big difference. But I'd say on average to really get into a drumbeat, it's about 6 months of building authority. And you've got to really be able to get regular content out there because the what happens is if you try to kind of stuff everything up front, you're like, I'm going to make, 100 changes here and then I'm going to push 10 blog posts and I'm going to do this. The algorithm doesn't like it, frankly, and it sees it as we're trying to play the game. And so part of it is it's a longer term game, right? But just like the sales cycle, it actually works in your favor. You make those updates on your website or you make the updates to the other things you're going. You've got an article that comes out, stay top of mind. Another one that comes out, stay top of mind. And so it is a game that does take some time. It's more like farming than going to the grocery store. So
Yep, love that. This has been so informative. We're at the very top of the hour. So Lauren, do you have any last minute comments or anything you'd like to make before we close up today?
no, just thank you for the opportunity. If anyone has questions, I'm happy to go into a deep dive about your specific situation. I know it's complex, there's a lot of jargon. I just hope that to kind of hopefully get out of that, like, hitting my head against the computer, feeling. I'd encourage everyone to take a look back at their target market. Again, good input gets good output.
Yes, I completely agree. By the way, Lauren has an awesome article on the Kitsy's website. So I know we talked about Kitsy's. I'm just going to drop that in the chat for everyone here to check out if you're still with us. We've got a lot of you here still on the line. So feel free to click that link in the chat or the links I dropped above about out and about communications and Well Tender. Lauren, you've been fabulous. It's been wonderful to collaborate with you on this webinar. Thank you again. And everyone, thank you. Happy holidays, and we'll see you on the next webinar.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.